Hey there, guys. All right, today we are back with some more of the Great War, and we are on to week 203, the French counterattack at Matz. Before we, before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love to join the Discord and follow me over at Twitch. And please do go check out the gaming channel here on YouTube, which is literally just the old clips and streams from the Twitch channel. Usually 1 week behind the Twitch channel. Yeah. All that said, really got nothing else to say. So, let's just dive in.
I start every episode with a hook, right? Something that hasn't happened before in the war, or some really big news, or some sort of event. Well, this week, it's definitely something that has not happened so far during the war. This week, two of the Central Powers fight each other in the field.
Are the Ottomans actually about to try and throw hands with the Germans? That's not a good idea, champ.
I'm Indy Nidell. Welcome to the Great War. Last week, the weeks-long war between the Ottomans and the Armenians came to an official end in the Caucasus, but the Ottomans were still on the move. The Third Battle of the Ain also came to an end over on the Western Front, with the Germans at the Marne River just a few dozen miles from Paris. But German Quartermaster General Erich Ludendorff was going to attack again straight away. With Operation Gneisenau, Ludendorff had not been able to take Rheims and the woods beyond Soissons with his last attacks. So this one was to attack at the river Matz beyond Soissons to the west. By now, he had a real urgency to broaden the mouth of the salient created by the attacks of late May and push the Allies back to the point they could not threaten the single railway line the Germans had to carry supplies and men toward the Marne. This attack was really hastily put together, though, to the point where many of the French thought it was just a diversion from some other secret plan. Still, even with the knowledge that the attack was coming, I said last week the French had cracked the German radio code. And when it was coming, it was initially a huge German success. Another Bruchmüller-designed artillery barrage, and with well-rested and experienced troops that had fought during Operation Michael 10 weeks ago going into action again. Those were not the reasons for the initial success, though. Once again, as they had 2 weeks ago, the French commanders disregarded General Philippe Pétain's order for defense in depth and concentrated all their forces around the forward lines where they were eaten up by the German artillery.
God damn it,
At midnight on the 9th, as the Germans were about to launch what is known as the Battle of Matz, the forewarned French began a huge artillery barrage of their own 10 minutes before the German one began. But the German one was far more intense and featured 15,000 tons of gas shells, mustard gas, phosgene, and diphenylchloroarsine. When the German infantry came on at 4:30 a.m., they advanced nearly 10 kilometers and took 8,000 prisoners, attacking on a 40-kilometer front from Montdidier to Noyon, and pushing the French back almost to the Aronde River. On the 11th, though, the French counterattacked west of Soissons. Charles Mangin was the architect of this. Now, remember, he had been fired from the French army after the disastrous Nivelle offensive last year, and his nickname among the press and politicians is the Butcher for his embrace of all-out aggressive war, which could, and did, lead to huge casualties. French Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau had recalled him, however, after Ferdinand Foch became Supreme Allied Commander. This day, I suppose he was the right man for the job, as his men burst from the fog and caught the Germans on open ground without any prepared defenses. Mangin's men also had 150 to 200 tanks with them. The Germans were beaten so suddenly and so totally that Ludendorff called off the offensive after just 4 days. Like the other German spring offensives so far, this operation did not produce any operational gains that could lead to big strategic results. But unlike the others, this one had produced no tactical gains. The Germans still had the same immediate problems at the end of the week they had had at the beginning. And their situation may have been worse than it was a month ago. They now had a salient with a 100-kilometer perimeter, vulnerable to attack from all sides and incredibly difficult to supply. There was some other Allied action of note on the Western Front this week. The night of June the 10th, the Australians attacked between Sailly-Lorette and Morlancourt, advancing nearly a kilometer and taking 233 prisoners and 21 machine guns. The night of the 14th, British and Scottish troops won roughly similar gains near Hinge. Some of the troops attacked were from the German 18th Division, the first German division to enter Belgium at the beginning of the war nearly 4 years ago. I don't know how many of General von Kluck's original force was still there, but that is a long time. The Americans were still fighting the Germans for control of Belleau Wood. On the 11th, an American assault captured 2/3 of the wood, but at a heavy cost in casualties. German counterattacks failed to dislodge the Americans. Other Central Powers were planning offensives as well. Austria-Hungary had been planning a new offensive for a couple of months. Svetozar Borojevich von Bojna, now a field marshal, did not think this was a good idea. But Emperor Karl and General and former Army Chief of Staff Franz Conrad von Hotzendorf.
No. If he thinks it's a good idea, then it's a bad idea. Stop listening to Hotzendorf. Why? I don't understand why anyone listens to Hotzendorf. He's proven himself incompetent time and time again. Why is he still here? I don't get why? Just why?
Hotzendorf were adamant about it. They thought they could grab some more Italian land and then get bigger spoils when the Central Powers won the war. Borojevich did not think they were going to win it, but he followed orders. He planned to attack across the Piave River towards Venice, but Conrad wanted an attack from the Asiago Plateau. He convinced Karl to do both, and preparations had been in the works for a couple of months to attack June 11th. Borojevich said he wouldn't be ready until at least the 25th, and then they settled on the 15th. Borojevich also said if they were going to do this two-pronged attack, he would need reinforcements, and that they also didn't have enough shells for a big attack. And it's true that though the Austrian army may have looked good on paper, that was...
I don't even think it looks good on paper, man. I mean, at least under the control of fucking Hotzendorf. Under Bojna? Bojna seems to be doing a good job. Hotzendorf? Fuck that dude.
the case in actuality. Sure, Russia was out of the war, so Italy was the empire's main front, and they could keep most of their troops there. But their infantry divisions were down from 12,000 to sometimes only half of that. Mark Thompson writes in The White War that around 200,000 Hungarian soldiers had deserted in the first 3 months of 1918. By late April, the men were starving. Bread and polenta were very scarce and often mixed with sawdust or even sand. Meat practically disappeared. Salt was only a memory. The men grew so weak during May, they could only walk with difficulty. Such was the condition of the men who were sent against the Italians in June. They had 23 divisions on the Asiago Plateau, 15 on the Piave, and 22 in reserve. They did slightly outnumber the opposition, but that opposition had air and firepower superiority. The Piave attack would come first, and then Conrad's force would attack from the north. Borojevich openly criticized the lack of men and supplies to his troops, which is pretty unusual for him. But as the week ended, he did his duty and got his men ready for a heavy assault. And yet other Central Powers were fighting this week against other Central Powers. Now, on the 12th, the Germans occupied Tiflis, the Georgian capital. This was on the surface no big deal because Georgia had declared itself a German protectorate. But that was done so Germany could try and secure the Baku oil reserves before the Ottoman army could reach them. Ottoman Minister of War Enver Pasha and German General Hans von Zecht were now in Batum to solve the mounting Turco-German tensions. But on the 10th, advancing units of Vahid Pasha's Ottoman army ran into 2 German companies and Georgian militia on the road to Tiflis across the Krami River Valley. They skirmished, and the Ottomans pushed back the Germano-Georgians and took a bunch of prisoners. That's right. Ottoman and German soldiers fought each other in the field. So on the 11th, German High Command threatened a withdrawal of all German troops, personnel, and government officials from the entire Ottoman Empire if the advance through Georgia did not stop and all the prisoners were released. Something was going to have to change. German political machinations were not confined to the Caucasus either. We saw last week that they hoped to get a German monarch on the Finnish throne. This week comes the actual debate in the Finnish Diet over a new constitution. Under this, Finland would be a constitutional and hereditary monarchy. The king could decide foreign policy, but could not make war without the Diet's consent. Executive power
Not
is the
bad.
king's. The Diet makes legislation, but the king has absolute veto, though a two-third majority in the Diet can overrule this. Foreigners
bad.
may be employed in military service. There are a few other things related to Swedish and Finnish-speaking citizens. However, this constitution does not quite have a majority to pass the Diet as the week ends, failing 16 to 15.
Ooh.
And the Austrians are about to attack in Italy. The Germans have attacked and failed in the West. The Germans and Ottomans have fought each other in the Caucasus. Oh, and American socialist leader and five-time presidential candidate Eugene Victor Debs was arrested this week for making an anti-war speech. He will be sentenced to 10 years in prison. So, the Central Powers
Freedom of speech, baby.
fought each other in the field, basically over oil. Austria is going to launch an offensive that its best military leader thinks it can't win in a war he thinks they won't win, and the French have recalled a
Are the French.
general known
That's all
to
you need to
everyone as the Butcher. After 4 years, modern war really reeks of desperation. If you want to learn more
Yeah.
about Svetozar Borojevich von Boyno, one of the best Austro-Hungarian commanders of this war,
Probably the best Austro-Hungarian commander of the war. And that was the French counterattack at Matz. The Great War, week 203. Whew. All right. Another 2 episodes down. We near and near the end. I've got nothing to say here at the end of this video. This was a good one. Again, it was just another one of the ones where things are happening, but there really isn't anything to say about them. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.